Imagine reincarnating into your favorite video game, but instead of becoming the hero, you turn into the most overpowered villain. This story begins as we meet a girl named Alicia, who arrives at the capo, searching for the Royal Academy. Along the way, she encounters an old lady, who reveals that she feels sick, so Alicia goes to the lady's house, and uses light magic to cure her. She immediately starts to feel better, and her daughter thanks Alicia, but she reveals that it took a long time to finish her spell, because she's still at level 1. The lady's daughter realizes that she's a first-year student, so she tells Alicia to hurry, because the Royal Academy's gate will close at exactly 6 a.m. So Alicia rushes to the academy, but the bell rings, and a boy named Oswald closes the gate before she could enter. He tells her that he's just following the rules, and we learn that he's also a freshman, saying he's been helping with the weekly duties to become accustomed to the academy. He advises her to look for a place to spend the night, but she knows that the entrance ceremony is tomorrow, so she wants to enter the dorm. She adds that she's broke, and he reveals that he heard of her, saying she's the only commoner admitted to the academy this year. He tells her that he feels sorry for her, but he can't let her enter the gate because he needs to follow the rules of the academy. But he mentions that a part of the wall is crumbling, telling her that students who broke the curfew have been using it to enter. She wonders who he is, so he introduces himself, telling her that he's the son of a minister, and she tells him that he's a great person, saying she wants to be his friend. She sees the broken part of the wall, and she meets a boy named William, who realizes that she also broke the curfew. So he helps her up, and they sneak into the academy, as he reveals that he's also a freshman. He explains that he was ordered to buy drinks for his seniors, saying it's a ritual for new kids entering the dorm. He tells her to watch her step, helping her walk on the roof, and he mentions that his father is a general. She realizes that the academy is full of rich people, and he reminds her to be careful, but he ends up falling into a window. She tries to help him, but she ends up falling with him, and she crashes into a boy who is revealed to be William's friend. He introduces himself as Edwin, revealing that he's the prince of a kingdom, and Alicia is surprised to hear this. Alicia and William report to the principal, who reprimands them, telling them that they've caused a commotion before the entrance ceremony. William blames Alicia, saying he became distracted because she was talking to him, but the principal interrupts him, telling him that his drinks are going to be confiscated. The principal tells Alicia that she has a rare talent for light magic, and this is why she was admitted to the academy on a scholarship, despite her commoner background. He tells them that they will be given extra duties for a week as punishment, ordering them to work together, and they leave the office. But we learn that he's actually happy to see Alicia, thinking she's the only one who can defeat the demon lord. That evening, she thinks about how she messed up on her first day, and she hears a commotion. She looks outside, and she sees the guards looking for an intruder. She thinks that criminals are targeting the academy because it's full of rich students, but she thinks that she's safe because she's just a commoner. But at that moment, a man enters her room, so she attacks him, thinking he's the intruder. But he tells her to be quiet, as he shows his face, revealing that he's Edwin. He explains that he wanted to investigate something, but he ended up alerting the guards, and he realizes that they are still searching for him, so he asks Alicia if he can stay in her room. She agrees to his request, and he apologizes for diving into her room. She explains that it's okay, saying she never talked to a member of the royal family before, and he tells her that he's always been surrounded by nobles, so he never had a chance to interact with a commoner. He asks her if all commoners are violent, but she explains that she attacked him because he looked like a robber. They enjoy their time together, but he decides to leave, thinking the guards are gone, and she tells him to be careful, promising not to tell anyone about what happened. The next day, the new students are ordered to enter the hall as part of the opening ceremony. Alicia sees Edwin, and she smiles at him, but she bumps into a girl named Yumiella, who glares at her, causing her to become intimidated. Yumiella wonders what's wrong with her, but she says that she's okay, and she goes to her seat. The officials welcome the freshmen to the academy, but we cut to Alicia and the boys as they fight against Yumiella, struggling against her dark magic. She launches magical projectiles, but Oswald summons a fireball, which overpowers her magic and creates an opening for Alicia. She uses her ultimate spell, lighting up the room and releasing a beam of light. Yumiella is ultimately defeated, and Edwin hugs Alicia. But we learn that it was all just a game, as a girl celebrates her victory. The game is called Light and Hero, and there are 3 love interests in the game. The player can deepen Alicia's relationship with them, and the goal is to make her level up so that she can defeat the Demon Lord. But after the Demon Lord is defeated, Yumielle appears as the hidden boss, and she's the strongest character in the game. We learn that the girl was killed by Truck Kun, and she reincarnated into the game, but she ended up in Yumielle's body instead of becoming Alicia. She knows how the story is going to play out, and she notes that the kingdom was founded by the hero who defeated the Demon Lord. But the Demon Lord had black hair, so the people thought that it's a symbol of evil. She has no memory of her parents, and her servants are cautious around her because they think she's evil. She knows that her character is overpowered because Alicia's party can't defeat her unless they reach the max level. But she knows that she's going to get defeated in the end, so she begins to question her existence. But she remembers that she's the strongest character in the game, and she can use dark magic, which only the enemy characters can use. So she decides to enjoy her life, thinking she doesn't need to follow the story, as she reveals that she doesn't care about the love interests. She plans to do her best not to get involved, thinking she will be able to live a peaceful life if she stays away from Alicia's party, because they will have no reason to kill her after they defeat the Demon Lord. But she still thinks about raising her level, so she heads to the woods, where she kills a slime. It drops a magic stone, which she can sell for money, but she realizes that her body is getting stronger. So she becomes addicted to the feeling, and she ends up killing all of the monsters. She sells the magic stones, allowing her to earn money, and she uses it to buy an amulet of growth, which allows her to level up faster. She enters a dungeon, which is filled with monsters, but she manages to clear it on her own. She eventually acquires the monster calling flute, using it to summon powerful monsters, but they're all no match for her. After some time, Yumielle enters the Royal Academy, where she reads a message from her parents, telling her to find a nobleman, because she needs to marry one of them to become her parents' heir. She heads to the gate, where she sees Alicia begging Oswald to let her enter, realizing that the events in the game are playing out as expected. She decides to avoid them, and the next day, the entrance ceremony begins, but she notes that everyone is staring at her, thinking it must be because of her black hair. The official reveals that the students' levels are about to be assessed as they bring out a crystal ball, and Yumielle is surprised to hear this. Alicia touches the ball, revealing that she's still at level 1, and the principal tells her to do her best. Everyone is impressed that William is already at level 10, thinking it's high for a freshman. But Yumielle becomes nervous because she doesn't know her level, and she wants to keep a low profile. She thinks about the boss she defeated, thinking she's definitely above level 10. Yumielle approaches the ball as the principal notes that she's nervous, thinking she must still be at level 1. But she chooses not to say anything, and she touches the ball, which reveals that she's already at level 99. Everyone is surprised to see this, thinking it's impossible, and she becomes worried, realizing that she won't be able to live a peaceful life. Everyone questions the result, and the principal thinks that the ball malfunctioned. So the officials replace it, and Yumielle repeats the test, but the result doesn't change. She realizes that she can no longer hide her secret, so she mentions that the reading is correct. But the officials don't believe her, thinking she tampered with the device, because it's impossible for a freshman to be at level 99, saying she needs to defeat monsters to level up. But she reveals that she has been doing this for years, and everyone is surprised to hear this, but the principal thinks that only time will tell if the result is accurate, telling her to introduce herself. But she notes that the principal doubts her, and as she gives her introduction, she hears students calling her a fraud. After the ceremony, everyone gathers for a buffet party, but Yumielle notes that nobody wants to talk to her, so she decides to leave. While walking around the campus, William approaches her, accusing her of cheating. He thinks that she wants to stand out, asking her if she has no pride as a noble. Edwin appears, calling her a central wannabe, as he explains that William has been training with a sword since he was a child, and this explains why he's already at level 10. Edwin also thinks she cheated, but she explains that she's at level 99, saying they will believe her once classes begin. They become upset, thinking she's trying to act innocent, and Oswald joins them, saying she lacks credibility. She realizes that she grabbed the attention of the love interests, as she recalls that William is a warrior with a strong sense of justice, while Edwin is the main hero of the game, and he can use magic along with his sword. Oswald is a magic prodigy, and he's popular because of his cool personality. But Yumiella doesn't like any of them, and she just wants to avoid them so she can live a peaceful life. Edwin tells her to prove that she's telling the truth by displaying her magical powers, but she knows that she's going to create a commotion if she uses her magic. So she tells them that Alicia appears to be lonely, advising them to talk to her. They tell Yumiella that she isn't worth talking to, because she will never admit that she's lying, so they decide to wait until their classes begin, and they make their way to Alicia. Yumiella goes home, and her maid Rita wonders why she left during the party. She explains that she doesn't like the people in the party, but Rita tells her that she will never find a good partner if she continues to behave that way. Rita tells her about Edwin, thinking he's a good match for her, but she notes that he doesn't like her, asking Rita what a central wannabe means. She's surprised to hear this, but she tells Yumiella not to concern herself with it, thinking someone called her a central wannabe. But she wonders how Rita came to that conclusion, because she never mentioned it, so she concludes that it refers to her family. We learn that Yumiella comes from a family of regional nobles, but they don't hold a special position in the capital, so they aren't considered as central nobles. The term central wannabe refers to regional nobles who spend time in the capital despite having no influence there, and this is considered as an insult. The next day, we see Yumiella in her classroom as she hears her classmates gossiping about her, thinking she's lying about her level. Alicia enters with the boys, as Yumiella wonders why Alicia already has a good relationship with them, because the story has just begun. She thinks that this is because of what happened during the buffet party, so she wonders if the story changed because of her. Later that day, the students prepare for their first class, which is about practical swordsmanship. We learn that this is Yumiella's first time holding a sword, so she starts playing with it. The teacher tells the students that they're going to have mock battles, telling Yumiella that she's going to go first, and William volunteers to fight her. He prepares to take her on, but she thinks about holding back against him. She recalls that she was only using magic to kill monsters, but she knows that her physical attacks are also powerful. William calls her a fraud, advising her to back out, and the teacher orders them to take their positions. But she doesn't raise her sword, so the students laugh at her, and William mocks her, asking her if she has decided to surrender. But she reveals that this is her first time holding a sword, and he becomes upset, thinking she's mocking him, so he threatens to break her bones. But as he charges in, she notes that he's incredibly slow, and she dodges his attack, causing him to lose his footing, and he falls to the ground. Everyone is surprised to see this, and she wonders if the fight is over. The teacher is about to declare her as the winner, but William refuses to give up, and he's about to strike her, but she parries his attack, blowing him away. She becomes worried, thinking she'll be in trouble if anything happens to him, but she realizes that he's still alive. She offers to take him to the infirmary, but the teacher says he will do it, telling the students to practice swings while he's away. The students are afraid of her, but she notes that she held back against William, knowing he would have died if she attacked with her full power. She decides to practice swings, but with each attack, she creates shockwaves, and the teacher never returned to give his lecture. The next class is about practical magic, and we see that Alicia and Oswald are her classmates. The teacher wants to test the students' magical abilities, so she tells them to hit the dummy with their spells. We learn that there are 4 basic elements, which the students use to attack the dummy. Light magic is extremely rare, so even though Alicia is struggling to use it, her classmates are impressed by her ability. Oswald has mastered the 4 basic elements, and he displays his powers as he attacks the dummy, and the teacher is impressed, saying she now understands why people call him a prodigy. He tells Yumiella that she's next, asking her what she can do, as she notes that he wasn't able to see what happened in the previous class, so she understands why he's still questioning her abilities. We learn that she can't use the 4 basic elements, but she has mastered dark magic. She asks the teacher if it's okay to break the dummy, but she explains that only palace mages are capable of destroying it, saying Yumiella is welcome to break it if she can. She thinks that palace mages are far below her, so she uses her weakest spell, as Oswald comments that it looks pathetic, but the teacher recognizes it as dark magic. It hits the dummy, causing it to disintegrate, and we learn that the spell melts anything it touches. The dummy is completely destroyed, as Yumiella reveals that she used dark magic, explaining that it's the only element she can use. The teacher is impressed, and she explains that dark magic isn't evil, saying palace mages have used it in the past. Oswald can't believe that he's been outdone, refusing to accept that there's someone better than him, and he dashes away. Edwin arrives with the principal, telling Yumiella that she's about to be expelled, as the principal explains that she isn't fit to stay in the academy because she lied about her level. The teacher begs him to reconsider, explaining that Yumiella is a user of dark magic who is capable of destroying the dummy. But the principal isn't convinced, saying it doesn't prove that she's level 99. The teacher knows that Yumiella was holding back, so she begs her to display her magic at full strength. So Yumiella asks for Edwin's permission to shoot her magic into the sky, and he tells her to do what she wants, thinking her magic wouldn't make much of an impact. She decides to use the strongest dark magic spell, but she knows that it will be a bad idea to use her full strength, so she thinks about holding back. She summons a black hole, which continues to expand until it completely covers the sky, and the entire kingdom panics as everyone experiences its power. We learn that the black hole erases everything in its area of effect, and it's removing the air in the sky, creating a vacuum which absorbs everything into it. She stops using the spell, and the black hole disappears, but everyone is in a state of shock, realizing that she has the power to destroy the kingdom. The next day, Yumiella is summoned by the king, so she enters the royal palace, where everyone is talking about the black hole, thinking her powers are scary. The king tells her that he knows what happened at the academy, saying everyone treated her harshly, and he apologizes for their actions. She explains that she deserved it, saying she caused trouble for everyone, but he tells her that they were being unreasonable because they shunned her without knowing the truth. But he wants to test her abilities, saying he finds it hard to believe that she's at level 99, so he orders the knight captain, Adolf, to determine if she's telling the truth. She recalls that he's the strongest knight in the kingdom, knowing he's at level 60, which is the minimum level required to defeat the demon lord. He tells her that he respects her powers, so he won't hold back, and he starts charging at her as she considers how she should react, because she doesn't want to hurt him. She notes that she doesn't need to fight him, so she decides to bow, allowing her to dodge the attack. He explains that even the knights can't evade that move, saying she was able to maintain her composure while he was charging at her. So he concludes that she's at level 99, and he apologizes for attacking her, telling her that he was just following orders. The king tells Yumiella to display her magic powers, so she uses her spell, causing spikes to appear from the ground. The king recognizes it as dark magic, so he asks the head palace mage about his opinion, because everyone thinks it's evil. But he explains that dark magic is just like the other elements, saying it isn't necessarily evil, and it's at the same level as light magic, so it's considered to be extremely rare. The king concludes that people fear Yumiella because they don't understand her, and he congratulates her for being the first person in the world to reach level 99, wondering how she was able to achieve this. So she explains how she acquired the amulet of growth to gain more experience and used the monster calling flute to summon monsters in the dungeon. But everyone thinks she's insane because her actions are incredibly dangerous. The king asks for Adolf's opinion, so he explains that only one amulet can be equipped, and he never uses the amulet of growth because the amulet of protection has saved him countless times. He adds that he will never summon monsters alone, saying he's afraid that he could end up dying. The king wants Yumiella to use her powers to serve the kingdom, and she agrees to this, so he offers to give her anything she wants, saying he's willing to welcome her into the royal family. But she thinks that he's trying to chain her to the kingdom by becoming a member of his family, so she tells him that she just wants to live in peace, and he promises to grant her wish. But we learn that she doesn't really care about the kingdom, and she plans to escape as soon as anything bad happens. Yumiella is invited to the queen's chamber, where the queen tells her that their discussion is going to be private, so she immediately wants to go home. The queen trusts her, thinking she's nothing like the nobles with ulterior motives, so she decides to give her access to confidential information. She reveals that the demon lord will return in 2 years, so they're preparing an elite force led by Edwin, because he needs to defeat the demon lord as a member of the royal family. She tells Yumiella to join Edwin's party, saying other talented students will also be invited. Yumiella realizes that Alicia was given a scholarship because the royal family is planning to use her to achieve their goal, and Edwin doesn't know about this, so he was investigating this at the beginning of the game. Yumielle agrees to join the party because she wants to defeat the demon lord, but the queen tells her that she must only assist Edwin, saying the reputation of the royal family will be ruined if she strikes the finishing blow. The queen advises her to marry Edwin, but she instantly refuses, and the queen tells her that she still has 2 years to reconsider. We learn that there are nobles who oppose the king because they are happy with the current state of the kingdom and they're being led by Duke Elros. The queen explains that Central Wallabies have joined his faction, including Yumiella's family, so she wonders how she should deal with her parents, thinking she'll be asked to marry into the Hilrose family. So the queen explains that she'll send a royal order to prevent Yumiella's family from taking her away, but the effect will only last for 3 years. Yumiella thinks that it's more than enough time, but she knows that she needs to do something about her family after she graduates, and the queen advises her to avoid the anti-king faction, knowing her powers have attracted the attention of other countries. Yumiella returns home, and Rita gives her an album, saying she can use it to pick a marriage partner, but she isn't interested, telling Rita to give her tea, as she reveals that she received pastries from the queen. We see the royal family talking about Yumiella, thinking she's brilliant because she reached level 99 at such a young age. The queen thinks that she had no choice but to become stronger because her parents never loved her and the public shunned her because of her black hair. But the queen acknowledges her strength because she chose to suffer in silence and she never held a grudge against anyone. The king knows that the other nobles will try to win her over, so they need to give her the peaceful life that she desires, and the queen thinks she needs friends because they will make her more attached to the kingdom. Back in the academy, the girls start approaching Yumiella, trying to befriend her, as she notes that things have changed after she was summoned by the king. But her relationship with Alicia hasn't changed, and the boys apologize for their actions, but they start avoiding her. She receives letters from other boys, who are trying to win her over, as she notes that the people from the king's faction are easy to get along with. But the members of the anti-king faction are aggressive, because they want to use her against the royal family. We see a boy telling her to marry him, saying they can unify the entire continent, but she rejects him, telling him that she only likes people who are stronger than her. But he tells her that physical strength isn't everything, as he claims that his intelligence is superior. But she reminds him that he isn't the top student, saying he will have to oppose the royal family if he plans to unify the continent. So he will have to commit insurrection to achieve his goal, and she tells him that the crime is punishable by death, causing him to become scared. She tells him that she will pretend the conversation never happened, but she thinks that someone may have overheard them. So she advises him to stay away from her, because people may become suspicious. Yumiella is about to return to her room, but she encounters a girl named Eleonora, who tells her that she was looking for her. Yumiella knows that she's the daughter of Duke Hilrose, and the girls look up to her, but she orders them around like a tyrant. Yumiella recalls that her character became evil in an attempt to please Eleonora, so she wants to avoid her. But Eleonora invites her to a tea party, and Yumiella thinks that she'll be in trouble if she declines, so she decides to attend. We learn that Yumiella never had a social life, so she doesn't know how to interact with people. Eleonora starts talking about her perfume, and Yumiella doesn't care, so she keeps giving generic answers. She realizes that Eleonora is extremely talkative, and we learn that she was too busy acting as the queen of the academy in the game, so Alicia never had a chance to talk to her. Her friend stops her, and she tells Yumiella to give up on Edwin, saying she will be welcomed into the group if she agrees to this. Eleonora thinks that the king told her to marry Edwin, so she wants Yumiella to stay away from him, thinking she isn't fit to be his wife. But she wonders why Eleonora is talking to her, because Alicia is closer to him. She tells Eleonora that she doesn't want to marry him, so she's invited to join the group, but she refuses because she doesn't want to be her friend. But Eleonora thinks that she's hiding her feelings for Edwin, causing her to become annoyed. She explains that she doesn't deserve to be with him because Eleonora is more worthy of his love, saying they will make a fine couple. This causes her to feel overjoyed, as Yumiella notes that she's easy to please. After some time, we see Yumiella in the cafeteria, and a group is about to join her, but Alicia approaches her, wondering if she's the demon lord. She's surprised to hear this, and Alicia reveals that she knows about the royal family's secret because Edwin told her that the demon lord will return in 2 years. So Yumiella thinks he's an idiot for spilling the beans, and she wonders why Alicia believes that she's the demon lord. Alicia explains that she finds Yumiella suspicious because she has black hair, and she even uses dark magic. So she tries to explain that she isn't the demon lord, but the boys interrupt her, thinking she's trying to harm Alicia. She explains the situation, hoping Edwin will try to hide the secret, but he tells everyone that the demon lord will return. William thinks she's the demon lord, but she denies this, saying the demon lord will return in 2 years, but she's already in the academy, so she's just another student. But William believes that she's going to become evil in the future, saying he will punish her if that happens, so she asks him if he can take her on, causing him to become frightened. Oswald also thinks she's the demon lord, because her powers are out of this world, but she tells them that they're just weak, saying they need to get stronger if they want to defeat her. We learn that she wants them to level up, so that they can defeat the demon lord, thinking they will like her if she helps them become stronger, so she decides to teach them how to level up, telling them to kill monsters in a dungeon during their free time. She advises them to wear the amulet of growth and head to the deepest part of the dungeon where the most powerful monsters can be found. She tells them to hunt them down and use the monster calling flute when they're alone, saying it's the most efficient way to level up. But Edwin thinks she's trying to get them killed, and she realizes that her method is too dangerous, so she offers to join him in the dungeon, but he refuses, saying he doesn't need her help. Yumiella realizes that the boys didn't like her advice, and she hears the people talking about her method, thinking she's crazy. But she wonders why Alicia doesn't trust her, thinking she could also be reincarnated into the game, because she seems to know what's going to happen in the future. So the next day, Yumiella decides to investigate Alicia, and she follows her around, observing her every move. We learn that in the game, Alicia enrolled in the academy because she wants to help others, and she couldn't get along with her classmates because of her commoner background. But the boys helped her and became her friends. Yumiella notes that her personality isn't so different because she's still kind and cheerful, but Yumiella wonders why she appears to be afraid of her. As Alicia leaves, Yumiella approaches the cat, trying to talk to it, but it's afraid of her, so it quickly runs away. She notes that animals are afraid of her, and she sees the boy named Patrick, who appears to be observing her, but he pretends that he didn't see anything. She knows that he's lying, so she explains that she let the cat escape, saying she could have taken it by force if she wanted to, but he doesn't respond, so she decides to walk away. Yumiella continues to spy on Alicia as she studies with Edwin, who tells her that Yumiella isn't the demon lord, saying it's wrong to accuse her, but Alicia draws a pitch-black creature, saying that's what she sees when she looks at Yumiella. Yumiella thinks this is the reason why animals are afraid of her, thinking it's because light isn't compatible with darkness, and Edwin reveals that he doesn't trust her. But he knows that she will be joining in the fight against the demon lord, because the king has recognized her powers. He tells Alicia that she will also be in the party, because her light magic is considered as a valuable asset, and he apologizes for getting her involved. But she tells him that she wants to use her magic to save the world, saying she's looking forward to working with him, and Yumiella notes that her personality hasn't changed, so she concludes that Alicia hasn't been reincarnated. Later that day, Yumiella heads to the principal's office, where she meets a man named Ronald, who explains that he will be taking over because the former principal has resigned. But she notes that his smile looks fake, so she finds him suspicious. He reveals that he was sent by the king, and he knows about the royal family's secret, so she concludes that the king trusts him. He knows that Edwin is spilling the beans, explaining that the boys have been acting strange lately because she shattered their pride, so he can't blame them for acting hostile. He explains that the royal family will deny that the demon lord is going to return, but he knows that the rumor will continue to spread. He informs her about the field lessons in the academy, where the students hunt monsters to level up, saying he needs her to help the regional nobles. She wonders how the boys are going to train, so he explains that they will undergo special training, saying he plans to help them reach level 40 before they graduate. She tells him that she wants them to reach level 60, but he thinks it's impossible because it will take years to achieve that level. We see Yumiella supervising the field lessons, as she notes that it's too peaceful, thinking their methods are inefficient and it will never prepare them for a real battle. Patrick agrees with her, saying they can kill more monsters if they work together, and she realizes that she has finally found a classmate she can talk to. He tells her that the vanguards can hold the monsters in place, while the rear guard attacks them from a distance, but she notes that the vanguards will gain less experience with this method. He explains that they need to reverse the role so that everyone will gain experience, and she notes that this isn't as effective as her method, thinking it's still better to do it alone. He mentions that there are enough people to create the formation, and Yumiella suddenly uses the monster calling flute. So Patrick orders everyone to take position, knowing they're in danger because the monsters are about to attack. The monsters charge at them, but the vanguards hold them off, and the rear guard attacks them from a distance, allowing the students to kill them without casualties. But a monster lunges forward, and the formation is about to break, so Patrick kills it and orders the vanguards to regroup. They're able to defeat the monsters, but everyone is exhausted, and Patrick tells Yumiella not to use the flute without warning. But she tells him not to worry, because she will hold the monsters in place, and she uses the flute. So everyone panics, but Yumiella tells them to take their time, as she uses her dark bind spell, preventing the monsters from moving. She orders the students to kill them, saying her spell will hold them in place, but the students hesitate, thinking they're going to get attacked. Patrick kills a monster, telling them it's safe, and she realizes that they're afraid of her magic. She tells him that he has great leadership skills, and he reveals that he has combat experience because he's the son of a margrave. But at that moment, a monster charges at her, so he tries to defend her, but he ends up getting injured, and she kills it in one hit. She uses dark magic to heal him, but he appears to be terrified. He notes that his wound is completely healed, and she wonders why he tried to protect her because she's already at level 99. But he tells her to take care of herself, and she realizes that he was worried about her. He advises her not to use the flute without warning, but she tells him that she's going to use it, and she summons more monsters, causing everyone to panic because they're already exhausted. But she keeps using her dark bind spell to help them level up, forcing them to push themselves to their limits. The next day, Raoul gives Yumiella a warning, telling her to stop using her flute. He's surprised to learn that she can use dark magic to heal injuries, and she mentions that she once lost her arm, so she had to use her magic to regrow it. But she notes that she almost died, knowing she can't survive if her head is sliced off. She inquires about the central nobles, and he tells her that the boys leveled up, but they killed all the monsters by themselves, so the other students couldn't make progress. He adds that Alicia wasn't able to gain experience, saying she needs to level up, because her light magic is a valuable asset to the kingdom, so he asks Yumiella to help her out. She becomes excited, thinking Alicia will enjoy her trip to the dark dungeon, but he imagines that she's going to suffer, because Yumiella's methods are questionable. So he changes his mind, telling her to test the durability of magic tools instead, and she accepts the task. He gives her a piece of metal, telling her that they're planning to use it to make armor, and it was able to pass Adolf's endurance test, but she easily bends it. Roald asks her to describe its durability, but she explains that she didn't notice because she wasn't even trying, and he tries to bend it, but he realizes that he can't. Yumiella walks around the campus as Patrick approaches her, asking her about the meeting with Roald. So she mentions that he scolded her, and Patrick tells her that it was expected. His classmate calls him, telling him that everyone wants to see him because they want him to be their leader for the next field lesson, and Yumiella notes how everyone trusts him. During their sword class, Patrick invites Yumiella to train with him, but she wonders why he chose her as his partner, knowing he has friends who want to pair up with him. So he explains that he owes her for healing him, but she tells him not to think about it, knowing he would have survived on his own. So he thinks about looking for another partner, but she stops him, telling him to train with her. They have a sparring match, as she notes that his swordsmanship is beautiful, but as he tries to strike her, she casually swings her sword and easily blows him away. She approaches him, realizing he's injured, so she heals him, as she apologizes for hurting him, but he blames himself for being weak, thinking he isn't worthy to be her partner. She tells him that his sword skills are amazing, saying she could learn from him, but he wonders why she's trying to learn how to fight with the sword, because she's already overpowered. So she reveals that she wants to fight the Demon Lord, and he believes that the rumors are true, thinking the Demon Lord will return in 2 years. But she denies this, saying Edwin is just making things up, as she notes that he has a bad reputation because of his behavior. So his credibility has been affected, and most people believe that his claim about the Demon Lord is a joke. But she knows that everyone finds her suspicious, because she's rumored to be the Demon Lord. She wonders if Patrick believes this, but he finds it absurd, thinking everyone suspects her because of her black hair. He reveals that he was bullied as a child because everyone thought his hair was dark, but he knows that Yumiella's hair is darker. So he admires her courage, knowing society hates her because of it, but she still wears it with confidence. They have another match, but he gets blown away again, and Yumiella heals him, allowing him to recover. He tells her that she's amazing because she isn't afraid to use her dark magic, knowing everyone thinks it's evil, so it takes courage to use it. That evening, Yumiella thinks about her background, wondering if she was born with dark magic. She recalls that in the game, her character gave into the darkness, and everyone loved Alicia for using light magic, but her character tried to hide her powers because she knew that people would dislike her. But Yumiella realizes that her world is different, so there's no point thinking about it. A few days later, the students gather for another field lesson, as Patrick reminds Yumiella not to use the monster calling flute. So she promises not to use it, saying she will act as the medic, and she watches the students as they fight the monsters. One of them gets injured, so she approaches him, asking him if he wants to experience her healing magic. He tells her that he doesn't, saying he wants to drink a potion instead, but she explains that they shouldn't waste it, and she uses her magic to heal him, causing him to freak out. She realizes that everyone is afraid of her, finding this strange, because healers are usually popular. Later that day, she realizes that the lesson is too easy, thinking their method is inefficient, so she thinks about using her flute, but Patrick stops her, saying it's too dangerous. But she explains that the monsters are too weak for the students, thinking they should be pushed to their limit so that they can level up faster. She knows that they aren't taking the lesson seriously, so she suggests hurting them, thinking it will help them focus, as she mentions that she can just heal them if it gets too serious. Patrick thinks this is a terrible idea, but she asks everyone if they want her to use the flute instead, and they agree to this, thinking it's the lesser evil. So she summons the monsters, as Patrick tells everyone to prepare for battle, leading them as they fight against the monsters. Yumiella observes them, as she realizes that she was being rude, knowing Patrick should be treated with respect, because he outranks her in terms of nobility. She realizes that he's using wind magic to carry his voice, and earth magic to hold his ground, thinking he's a brilliant leader. But she wonders how she's going to talk to him after the incident, thinking he hates her because of her actions. They're able to defeat the monsters, and everyone thanks Patrick for leading them to victory, but they completely ignore Yumiella. They return to the academy, as Yumiella realizes that nobody's talking to her, thinking she's going to return to her lonely life. But at that moment, Alicia approaches her, apologizing for calling her the Demon Lord. She's about to talk to Alicia, but Edwin tells her to stay away, thinking she was trying to kill the students during the field lessons, and he calls her a threat to the kingdom. So she considers running away, thinking everybody hates her. But Patrick suddenly appears, and he explains that she helped the students level up, saying her methods are questionable, but they can't argue with the results. He tells Edwin to stay away from her, so he decides to back down, and she notes that Patrick looks upset. She thanks him for standing up for her, and she asks him if he's angry, thinking her behavior was unacceptable, but he tells her not to think about it. He reveals that he's worried about her, because she appears to be depressed, but she tells him that she's okay, thanking him for checking up on her, as she realizes that she wants to be his friend. During the summer break, Yumiella continues training with Patrick, as he teaches her how to wield the sword. But she overpowers him, causing him to get injured, so she heals him, revealing that she still can't control her strength. During their class, Yumiella's classmates approach her, asking her to help them with their assignment. They realize that she's always with Patrick, and she explains that she's helping him level up, telling them that she can help them get stronger with her method. But they become frightened, and he tells her to observe people's reactions before recommending her method. So she decides to observe the people around her, and she realizes that everyone's talking about her, thinking she has a special relationship with Patrick. She heads to the library, thinking she needs to learn more about combat, because Patrick inspired her to study strategy and leadership. While searching for a book, she encounters Alicia, who asks for help, wanting to learn how to use magic. Alicia explains that she doesn't know anything about light magic, because it's a rare element, so she can't find a book that covers it. She knows that Yumiella's magic is also unique, wondering how she learned how to use it, but she knows that she can't tell the truth because she only learned how to do it by playing the game. She thinks that it wouldn't make sense if she explained it, so she advises Alicia to recall her memories that involve light, saying she can use it to improve her magic. She mentions that she used to watch the stars with her grandmother, saying it was a beautiful scene, and she thanks Yumiella for her help, saying she helped her realize something. Later that day, Patrick approaches Yumiella, saying the queen has a gift for her. She realizes that the queen gave her pastries, telling him that they should eat in her room, but he becomes flustered, saying a man shouldn't enter a lady's room. So they decide to eat it in the cafeteria, where their classmates watch them, thinking they have a great relationship. After the summer break, the academy prepares for a martial arts competition, where the participants fight with their swords and display their magic powers. Yumiella knows that it's an opportunity for students to show the nobles what they can do, so she doesn't want to get involved, thinking everyone must be given a chance to shine. Patrick wonders if she's going to participate, saying he isn't interested in joining. He mentions that the prize is useless because it's an amulet that enhances dark magic and she's the only one who can use it, thinking she doesn't need it because she's already overpowered. But she reveals that she wants it, so she decides to join the contest. Yumiella approaches Ronald, telling him to include her as a participant as she thinks about winning the competition to receive the prize. On the day of the event, Patrick reveals that the amulet was given by the king and it's meant for Yumiella, but Ronald offered it as a prize, so she realizes that he wanted her to join, thinking it's because he wants to impress the nobles with her powers. The participants gather at the arena, and we learn that the sword fighting matchups are determined by drawing lots. Edwin and William are in the left block, so they're going to be fighting against each other, but Yumiella is in the right block, and William approaches her, revealing that he has been training hard. He mentions that he's already level 20, but Yumiella doesn't know how to react, because she isn't impressed, so she gives him generic answers. He apologizes for being rude, because he thought she was lying about her level, but he tells her that he's determined to defeat her, so that he can become the strongest knight in the kingdom. The event begins, and Yumiella enters the arena, ready to fight her opponent. She plans to hold back, so that he won't look bad, thinking he's trying to impress the nobles. We learn that she's worried about her sword, because she will lose if it's broken, revealing that she accidentally breaks weapons by swinging them around, so she picked the toughest sword she can find. She decides to test it, creating a gust of wind, but her opponent instantly gives up, knowing he doesn't stand a chance against her. She proceeds to the next round, but nobody wants to fight her, so everyone withdraws, allowing her to reach the final round. Edwin fights against William, but he ends up losing, as Yumiella notes that he's a magic swordsman, but he can't use magic during the fight, so William had the advantage. In the final round, Yumiella fights against William, who tells her that he won't withdraw, and she's glad to hear this, because she doesn't want to win the event by default. He reveals that he's using a new weapon, and she recognizes it, knowing it's supposed to be obtained near the end of the story, so she wonders how he acquired it. The fight begins, and William attacks Yumiella, but she easily dodges, as she notes that he's already exhausted, because he isn't strong enough to use the weapon. He tells her that she does nothing but evade, and she realizes that the fight is boring, thinking she should entertain the nobles, because it's the final round. She thinks about deflecting like Patrick, but as she tries it, she realizes that her sword is about to break. So she decides to use her secret technique, shattering his sword with her fist, and we learn that her punch was so fast that low-level people couldn't see it, so he becomes confused, wondering how he lost. She's announced as the winner, thinking nobody saw her move, but we learn that Adolf was able to see it. During the second part of the event, the participants display their magic, and the judges give them a score, as Yumiella realizes that she has free time, because she's the last participant to perform. Oswald approaches her, telling her that the judges won't score them based on strength alone, because they will also take precision into account. So he thinks he has the advantage, because he has mastered all the basic elements. He apologizes for treating her harshly, because he doubted her when she told him about her level, but he reveals that he doesn't like her, so he's determined to defeat her in the contest. Alicia uses her light magic, causing orbs of light to appear in the arena, as Yumiella recalls that she used to watch the stars with her grandmother, realizing that she took her advice. Alicia receives 88 points for her performance, as the magic instructor mentions that it was a beautiful spell. Edwin enchants his sword, and he swings it around, creating a pillar of fire, as the judges give him a score of 90. During Oswald's turn, he summons a block of earth and he divides it into tiny pieces. He calls fire and water to his side, causing them to converge, as he summons a whirlwind, creating a pillar made of the 4 elements. The judges give him a score of 100, and he becomes cocky, thinking Yumiella doesn't stand a chance. She enters the arena, but she doesn't have a plan, and she sees Patrick watching her, wondering why he's so far away. She wants to impress him with her magic, but he suddenly backs away, as she wonders what's wrong with him. She reveals that she isn't confident in her control, so she'll have to rely on the strength of her magic, and she uses her full power, summoning a massive black hole, which completely covers the sky. She stops using the spell, and the sky becomes clear, but a typhoon is suddenly formed, as she realizes that it was created by her black hole. Everyone panics, thinking they're going to die, but she realizes that she only used 1 spell, thinking she needs to continue her performance, but the official begs her to stop, saying she can have 300 points if she ends her performance. Yumiella wins the event, so Rolf gives her the prize, as she notes that her magic will become stronger, but he wonders if she even needs it. She thinks that he doesn't understand its true value, so she shows it to Patrick, asking for his opinion, but he tells her she doesn't need it, so she becomes upset, thinking she should display her full power. Yumiella realizes that her first year in the academy is about to come to an end, but everyone's afraid of her, because she summoned a black hole during the martial arts competition. We learn that Patrick is the only one who talks to her, but she notes that her life is finally peaceful, because the boys are no longer bothering her. But Edwin suddenly approaches her, and he reveals that Alicia's belongings are missing, asking her if she's the one behind it. She denies this, and Patrick tells him that he shouldn't accuse her without evidence, so he decides to walk away, saying he will look into the other students. She knows that in the game, she was the one who bullied Alicia, and she wonders who's doing it, knowing her classmates hate Alicia because of her commoner background. Yumiella doesn't want the bullying to escalate, because Alicia might stop going to school, so she decides to look into it. Later that day, we see a girl approaching Alicia's desk, and she tries to take the books, but Yumiella stops her, causing her to freak out, because she's afraid of her. The girl reveals that she's doing it for Eleonora, so Yumiella pays her a visit, informing her that the girl tried to steal Alicia's books. She wonders if Yumiella thinks she's behind it, but Yumiella denies this, saying the girl told her that Eleonora isn't involved. But she explains that Edwin might hate her, because the girl is connected to her. She's worried that Edwin will end up with Alicia, so Yumiella assures her that Edwin can't marry a commoner, but we learn that this is a lie, because Edwin married Alicia in the game. Yumiella advises Eleonora to ignore Alicia, saying she wants her to end up with Edwin. So she takes a liking to Yumiella, who notes that she has accomplished her goal, because she was able to stop the bullying of Alicia and protect the culprit. Yumiella meets Patrick, who wonders why she didn't expose the girl, thinking it's better for Edwin to discover the truth. But she mentions that she could have been in a similar situation, as she recalls that her character served Eleonora in the game. She tried to steal Alicia's books, but she ended up getting caught, so Eleonora shunned her in the end, causing her to suffer, and she started her quest for power, wanting to get revenge. But Alicia defeated her in the end, because her dark magic is weak against light. Yumiella tells Patrick about this, but he thinks her situation isn't so different, because nobody likes her. But she mentions that she's satisfied with her life, because she has someone she can talk to. She bids him farewell, as she notes that she had a hard time finding someone to talk to, so she thinks she'll never have a boyfriend. A few days later, Yumiella realizes that Eleonora is following her around, inviting her to a tea party. She tries to avoid Eleonora, knowing she's connected to the anti-king faction, but she keeps following her. So Yumiella tells her to stop, but she explains that she has sweets, so Yumiella ends up joining her. Eleonora gives her cookies, and she tries eating it, as Eleonora explains that she was the one who baked it. Yumiella thinks this is her chance, because she wants Eleonora to hate her, so she mentions that it tastes terrible, thinking Eleonora will become angry. But she reveals that she was just testing Yumiella by giving her a failed batch, and she admires Yumiella's honesty, because she was the only one who told her the truth. Eleonora reveals that she started baking, because she heard that Alicia gave Edwin sweets. Yumiella tells her that Edwin will never enjoy her sweets, but she isn't offended, so Yumiella becomes confused, because she can't get Eleonora to dislike her. She notes that Eleonora is an idiot, so she thinks that someone is manipulating her. Yumiella asks about the girl who tried to take Alicia's books, knowing Eleonora gave the order, but she mentions that someone convinced her to do it. So Yumiella realizes that the idea came from one of her followers, thinking she isn't a bad person. Yumiella advises her not to trust her friends, and she asks Yumiella to help her with Edwin, but she doesn't know what to say, because she doesn't want Eleonora to end up with him. Days later, Patrick reveals that he talked to Eleonora, and he thinks she isn't a bad person, saying Yumiella should give her a chance. He invites Yumiella to the year-end party, but she declines, and as she walks away, she notes that it's meant to help the students practice for joining high society, thinking it's useless, so she wants to skip it. But she recalls that in the game, Alicia will leave the party with her chosen love interest, so Yumiella thinks about joining, wanting to confirm if Alicia is going to end up with Edwin. Eleonora suddenly approaches her, asking her if she already has a dress for the party, but she reveals that she doesn't have one, saying she doesn't even have a partner. So Eleonora tells her to go with Patrick, saying she will help her pick a dress. Yumiella returns home, telling Rita that she needs a dress, and Rita is surprised to hear this, saying she can handle the hair and makeup. Yumiella realizes that all of her dresses are for children, as Rita explains that her mother bought all of them, but she doesn't want to wear any of them, so she thinks about skipping the party. But at that moment, they receive a delivery, realizing it's from the Queen, and Yumiella wonders what it is. We see everyone preparing for the party, but they're all stunned as Yumiella arrives, wearing the dress that the Queen gave her. She sees Alicia in the party, wondering who she's going to end up with, and Patrick approaches Yumiella, but he's surprised to see her, realizing she looks gorgeous. Eleonora thinks she's getting in the way, so she decides to leave, but Yumiella notes that Patrick is just her acquaintance. She tells him that she wants to leave because she feels embarrassed wearing the dress. She suddenly sees William looking for Alicia, realizing that they left the party, so she knows that Alicia is going to end up with Edwin, thinking she has already achieved her goal. She's about to leave, but Patrick stops her, inviting her to dance with him, and she agrees to this, so they start dancing to the music. But Yumiella feels awkward, so Patrick tells her to relax, and they continue dancing, as she realizes that she's having fun. She notices that everyone's staring at her, thinking they see her as a weirdo, but Patrick tells her that she's beautiful. She realizes she's getting nervous, and he's about to tell her how he feels, but the music suddenly stops, as she steps back, asking him what he was about to tell her. He refuses to say anything, and she tells him that she wants to dance again, but a boy invites her to dance with him. She wants to stay with Patrick, so she tells the boy that she only likes people who are stronger than her, so he runs away. But Patrick hears this, knowing he isn't stronger than her, so he becomes devastated, thinking she doesn't like him.